Okay, hi everyone.
Hi, doctor.
Hi,
Hola,
how are you?
Juli, how are you? ¿Qué
Hola,
tal?
Sha, how are you?
Good. I'm good. Bien. Okay, so Juli's mic is Dr. Julian's mic is clear. Can I have Dr. Yusuf? Sorry, Mr. Lyon. Can you say something? Mr. Lyon here? Mr. Lyon, your mic is off.
Yes, I am here.
Yeah, great. Okay, we can hear you. That's very clear. Fer, did you brush your teeth?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone there.
Good morning.
Fer, can you say something?
Buenos
Okay,
días, Juli.
okay.
Muy buenas.
Juli, okay. Bueno, everything is okay. And then Omar, you can take over. Maybe we can start in about 13 minutes.
Yeah.
But Omar, do you want to test something? Do you want to say something? Do you want to give any?
Yeah, I want to say good morning to everybody there. I don't know whether it is morning or evening, afternoon. I think it is morning in Spain, but in America, I don't know. Maybe it is afternoon.
5 a.m. in Madrid.
Oh,
I apologize, Fernando. You cannot
6
take that
a.m. in
against me.
Iraq.
I apologize. It's my fault.
no, it is good. Actually, you can exercise. After the meeting, you will go for exercise.
yeah, I have plenty of time to make the best of my morning.
Yeah. But despacito, I
Yeah,
say.
after a big cup of coffee, I think.
Yeah.
It's 6 a.m. in Iraq. Hi,
6
my
a.m.
friend Omar.
Yeah.
It's 10 p.m. in Colombia.
6 p.m. in Colombia.
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
8 p.m. in the California anyway, United States.
United States, it is 10 p.m.
In California, on the West Coast, yeah. 8 p.m. actually.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
That's great.
In the anyway,
That's it.
we in Malaysia, we are in the future.
Yes, you are.
We are in the future and El Futuro, 11:10 a.m. In 5 minutes, we are going to start, and this session will be recorded. So if any of you are not happy with this session to be recorded, please let me know.
It's okay. I have no
Alright.
trouble with that. Yep.
Great.
That's fine with me. So, hello everybody.
Hi,
Hello.
Heikal.
Hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Hi, morning.
Who's here with us in Malaysia?
Morning.
You are welcome, Dr. Heikal.
Thank you, Heikal. All right, we are waiting also for some participants to come in. Usually they come in at the last minute or when we are having the forum on. We have 77 now, but it's going to increase. Meanwhile, we have about 5 minutes. Is there any questions? By the way, Omar Janabi, let me introduce Omar Janabi to all of you. He is our student finished. He's finished. He's waiting for his thesis to be, he's waiting for the correction. I mean, he already passed his thesis correction. Omar is from Iraq and he's here with us in Malaysia. Fernando is a lecturer. I'm just introducing to all of you. Later, Omar is going to reintroduce you to the participants. Okay, this is just among the panels.
Yeah.
Dr. Fernando is in Spain. He's from University Politécnica de Madrid. Dr. Heikal, TS Dr. Heikal is our member of academic here, faculty in University Sains, Malaysia. Dr. Julian, he is from University of Pereira in Colombia, and very rare actually because it's the first time that we are having a connection with Colombia and Spain online.
So J in Spanish pronounced as H,
Yes,
You
yes,
are?
sorry, yeah, that is right. I should have said that, yes. J is Jota in Spanish.
Okay.
So it's really Julian, but I think he wouldn't mind you calling him Julian also.
Yesterday I was expressing my tongue to pronounce something in Spanish, but actually it is very nice.
And we have Mr. Lyon, Robert Yusuf Lyon, who I think surprisingly look very similar to Julian. And he is in California. And then later, all of you will be given a chance to introduce yourself. I mean, the moderator will know what to do. So we will start in 3 minutes. Okay, if there's any question at all, you can put it on chat or you can also voice it out. Thank you very much. Julian, do you have the background? Or is it a problem?
Tisha,
To
what?
put on?
Did I have what?
Do you have the background? The background picture sent to you?
I think yes, they sent to me, but I couldn't put it in my tablet. So
Oh, because it's taking a lot of resources, maybe.
yeah,
Sometimes.
I think
Same
so.
here.
Yeah.
Video. Okay, that's no problem. How about you, Yusuf?
Same thing. Yeah, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
It
okay,
argued
yeah,
with me.
Yeah, it depends on the system. Sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. We have 3 more minutes to go. So, Omar, you are taking over from here, okay? In
Okay.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Hello guys, welcome back from the short. I hope you enjoy the poster session and get beneficial sharing for your peers. Now, coming towards the special session, which is forum session, we bring to you amazing panels from 4 different continents to discuss on the topic titled The New Normal 2.0, Massive Delay in My Research Work, an Excuse or a Reality? So without further delay, I would like to invite our moderator, our handsome moderator today for this session, Mr. Omar Al-Janabi, who is also a PhD candidate at USM. So the floor is yours, Mr. Omar.
Okay, thank you very much, Noor. I would like to express my warm welcome to our delightful and wonderful panels from different countries. We have with us today Associate Professor Fernando and Mr. Robert and Dr. Heikal and Associate Professor Julian. or Julian, as they say in Spanish. I just learned one word today. So I would like also to thank our CSPC committee members that gave me this opportunity to be a host in this session. So without further ado, I would like to give a brief introduction about our panelists. So first, we will start with Associate Professor Fernando Fernández, if I am pronouncing that correctly. So Associate Professor Fernando, welcome to our colloquium today. So Dr. Fernando received his telecommunication engineering degree and a PhD degree from the University Political or Politécnica da Madrid, Spain, which is from Madrid, Spain. He has made several research stays as a visiting scientist, including Lyon University in France and IDIAP Researcher Institute in Switzerland and UIM University in Germany. His research interests including natural language processing, speech technology, and image processing, and much more. However, Dr. Fernando is an author and a co-author of more than 90 articles. Also holds a patent in software engineering, or maybe it is software only, not engineering. This was from me. His hobbies are hiking, photography, and watching movies. You are welcome with a very beautiful smile, Dr. Fernando. So our second panelist is Mr. Robert Yusuf Lyon. So welcome, Mr. Robert, what I shall call you, Lyon or Robert Yusuf?
Lyon, yeah, Robert Lyon is correct, yes.
Robert Lyon, that's good. You look like a lion, actually. So you are welcome, sir, to this session. I would like to introduce Mr. Robert Lyon. He is an accomplished educator currently working as a mathematics interventionist at KIPP Hartwood Academy, where he uses multiple skill sets to inspire and mentor students toward their goals. He holds a degree in communications, art, and agriculture from Tennessee State University, and obtained his master's in history from American Military University. I don't know how you obtained all of these degrees within a very short time. Currently defending his PhD thesis in education with specialties in curriculum and teaching. Mr. Lyon believes that the key to success for any student is for the teacher to delightfully discover how each student learns. Creating curriculum for every scenario that teachers and students alike may face on their academic journeys is a goal in which he does not take lightly. Apart from the academic things, he also enjoys photography, and he has, I believe, a beloved daughter that he took care of, and that much to do. And he's tutoring adult students and as well as postgraduate students. You are most welcome, Mr. Robert Lyon. Our third
Thank you.
panelist is Dr. Muhammad Heikal Husin. Dr. Muhammad Husin He's a senior lecturer at the School of Computer Sciences at University Sains, Malaysia. You are welcome, Dr. Heikal. Dr. Heikal is an explorer and educator in information systems who developed an interest in software engineering through his work at USM. Also, he obtained his PhD in the IT from the University of South Australia. He is taught both undergraduate and postgraduate students, specifically project management and software testing. Adding to that, he published several papers on understanding technology usage impacts within organizations and other technology domains. Currently, he's supervising more than 10 postgraduate students. Wow, that's a lot. And managed to graduate several students over the years. Also leads several research grants, including MRUN grants in USM. One thing is I like it about his biography is that one of his hobbies is hiking and traveling, eating good food. But guess what? He's watching TikTok that he resisted to watch in the beginning. This is funny one. Thank you very much, Dr. Heikal, to be with us today. And our fourth panelist is Associate Professor Julian David. I hope David, it is David in Spanish, is not something else. Because Julian, it is Julian.
And David, it's David.
David, okay, that's good.
That's
So you are welcome, Dr. Julian David, to our session today. So a brief introduction about Dr. Julian. He received his degrees in electronic engineering from University National Colombia, if that's correct. Obtained master's and PhD degrees in electronic systems from University Politécnica, I think. Politécnica, Madrid, Spain. Yeah, because I'm not good at Spanish. Excuse my Spanish. He is director of research group in data analysis and computational psychology. He has participated in several research projects funded by both the University Tecnológica Pereira in Colombia and Columbia University of Sciences. Dr. Julian has authored and co-authored several papers in reputable journals. His main research interests revolve around machine learning, pattern recognition, natural language processing, and etc. Finally, Dr. Julian enjoys traveling, getting to know new places. You are all very welcome to our session today. Really, I would thank you from my heart because you are from different countries, different time zones, and you made it. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we will start our session. The theme of the session is the new normal 2.0, massive delay in my research work and excuse our reality. Before we dive to that, I believe that COVID-19 is a good thing because it allowed us to communicate with such delightful researchers, doctors, fellows from around the world. So I think we should call it the United Nation of COVID. We are united now. Yeah, so the topic or the theme of the session revolve around the interaction with students, the sharpness of the pandemic, delay in research work, data collection. Because here in Malaysia, as well as based on what I know in US, there is a lockdown and students facing difficulties to get their data collected or to reach out to the labs. So it was really a difficult situation for them, especially for the people who requires to do their work in the laboratories. Yeah, so I would like to ask a general question to all of you, which is, what can you say about life and work during the pandemic? So maybe we can start with Julian. I like the name Julian. Dr. Julian.
Okay, Omar, thank you. Well, first of all, Omar and all of the organizers of this forum, of this colloquium, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It's a pleasure to see people that I have not seen for a very long time. And it's also an honor for me to be able to share here and today with all of you the experiences that we have had in this part of the world during the last year and a half. Well, what can I say about work and life during the pandemic? Well, I think, and I'm pretty sure that all of you may agree with me that the pandemic was something that we were not prepared for. Okay, it was something that took us by surprise and that obviously forced us to change our routine, our work methodology, and forced us to adapt.
Yeah.
Regarding my life, to be honest, the pandemic didn't change me much. I mean, obviously, it limited social interactions. It was a long time without being able to see the family, but in my home, we managed to adapt to the new normality, and fortunately, we managed. The pandemic didn't impact negatively our life in the personal and individual fields. Regarding my
That's-
work, regarding my work, that's a bit different. I mean, the changes were evident. I'm an university professor and researcher, and as a professor, the pandemic led us to a virtual education model with conditions for which many of our students were not prepared. The vast majority of my students come from different parts of the country, many of them from remote areas where there is no good communication infrastructure and the internet coverage is often very poor, which made it difficult for them to access a good quality education. And in the other part, as a researcher, there was a rather interesting dichotomy. On the one hand, many opportunities were closed. The main sources of research funding here in Colombia began to target issues related only to COVID, which limited access to resources. But on the other hand, lines of research were opened in which we had not worked before. So
Yeah.
as a result of the pandemic, these lines of research began to emerge as research objective for us, research opportunities in which our group could participate and contribute.
That's very good. Thank you very much for your answer. And how about you, Dr. Heikal?
Thank you so much, Omar, for that question. To be honest, the pandemic did have some effect. I mean, I do agree with what Dr. Julian has mentioned. In one word, I would say topsy-turvy. It sort of turned a lot of things onto its head. A lot of normal things that you sort of take for granted, like, so for example, going to the office, seeing your colleagues, that's something that went out of the window when it first started, So it sort of changed the routine, and it sort of affected me both individually as well as a researcher. So I had to find new ways on how to adapt, to not just the amount of work that is coming in, which is weird considering that we weren't going to the office, but in our line of research, a lot of research now is moving towards online. So there's a lot of more meetings at different hours of times in order to accommodate different participants or different researchers. So that's something that I had to adapt personally. But I think on the other side as well, because of the whole pandemic, there's no separation between your personal life as well as your working life. Everything is in one situation area, right? So it's a bit hard to juggle between the two, but I think it sort of helped me to manage better in terms of how I conduct my research and
That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
And Mr. Robert?
First off, Omar, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this and getting a chance to share some views. Here in the United States, and I realize this is not a political forum, but we were left with an administration that, in my opinion, didn't handle it well, created a lot of divide within the public. And unfortunately, that transcends down to the academic system as well, because March 13th essentially was the last day that our kids went to school, and when it lingered into April, I think there were a fair amount of parents thinking, we'll just get through April, we'll get into May. Hey, they're not going to fail anybody, we'll be good. And I don't think any of us expected us to last like this and to linger, and of course, the deaths and the people that are sick. And of course, I'm not sure really what the experiences are in the other countries, but I do know here we still have a lot of people that just won't get vaccinated because they're not going to let the government tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I had hoped, to be honest with you, that when we came out of this, as far as the academic profession, researchers, the students, that we would come out of this better. I don't see that. I don't see that yet. And maybe I'm very, very wrong, but I don't see that yet. Life for me went on. We stayed home. We had them, the lockdowns were in semi of a lockdown now, but with people being vaccinated, I think the United States has figured, well, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people that'll die, but it won't be all of them, so we're okay. And they've just kept moving forward. Having said all that, I still continued to do my research once the universities opened. I was working with Arizona State University directly, and they shut down completely and had no plan to deal with it. So once it opened up, and it took a while because then they went on limited staff, and then some staff just wouldn't even participate. To me, I thought this is an opportunity that we should really embrace and make it something special. And as I mentioned before, we haven't seen that yet. We just haven't. And I have high hopes that we will, but until I'm proven proven wrong or right, depending on how you look at it, we just have to keep moving forward.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer. And how about you, Dr. Fernando? Did you balance between your work life during the pandemic?
Well, to be honest, let me first start by thanking you the chance for me to be here and to share these moments. It's an honor for me. Well, actually, to be honest, I haven't managed to make it all. I mean, my let's say my professional, my academic part has come back maybe almost back to normal, but except for a few things that we will surely comment a few maybe later. But yeah, I agree. My personal stuff has changed it all. I mean, you must face it, you must admit it, and this is how it is. I mean, I don't know how could we manage to get this path also back to normal, but
Yeah.
I think it will take time yet. I mean, it's gonna cost us a bit more. I was glad to check that. Our memories are pretty much worse that reality is right now, because I was thinking about the beginning of all of this, right? And when everything was absolutely chaotic. Surely due to the fact that there was a terrible uncertainty.
It was severe in Spain, I believe, in the beginning.
It was as
someone who has to work in different institutes or different places, somebody like you, I believe you face the difficulties to conduct with the students, to deliver your lectures or classes. So what is your thought about the online teaching? Is it good? What is wrong about it? If it is wrong, or if there is any difficulties?
I completely share my experience with Julian. We were forced to become into something that we were not prepared for. This virtual teaching scenario changed it all. Like we were not. We did not have the habit of doing these kind of things. I mean, there are professors, teachers that are teaching online, and they do this often. They are used to it, but most of us were not, because we were used to face-to-face teaching, and we were used to interacting with each other, and we were used to see each other. I mean, to touch each other, to
interact.
To enjoy a much broader and wider communication channel. We have lost a lot, maybe because of this Zoom stuff, Teams and things like this that I really respect, that I really enjoy. I mean, because these
some of the supervisors, they have the pandemic has eased their ways of communication with the students. I need to hear from Dr. Heikal, as he's supervising 10 students. I think it is easier for you to see them online rather than to come to your office.
Okay, to be honest, yes, handling sort of near to the number of a football team is a bit difficult. It's very rarely easy. It is quite tough. And I do agree. I mean, when the pandemic hit, it was a lot easier to sort of maintain that connection with students online. But it does affect in terms of the quality of the communication itself. It's different when you have the students in front of you, and you can see their expressions in real time. You can sort of hear their voice, not virtually, but it's sort of like in sort of a real context. And that actually has an effect on how I would respond as a supervisor. And to be honest, managing that online, it's easier with the tools, but it doesn't have the same outcome that I would love for the students to have.
Okay.
So maybe I can give one example. I recently had an online meeting with one of my students who's overseas, and I had to explain, a very brief research concept that's more pertaining to her particular research, and it was difficult, because you're not there physically, and you can't really, you can show or share screens, but it like I said, it doesn't have that effect. At the end of it, I had to repeat a lot of the information to the students, not just during the meeting, but also after the meeting. So it gets
Okay, why is that?
maybe because the fact that the student couldn't really grasp the explanation during the meeting. So what I've done when I'm handling these sort of situations, I'll usually go, okay, can you sort of explain to me what do you understand by this particular topic or particular research domain that you're looking at? And then I expect the student to come back in a few days' time, and then we will just go from it. But
Yeah.
when it's online, you know, there's a lot of things. I mean, coming back to the first question, where you know the separation between work and your personal
Yeah.
life doesn't exist. So it also affects the same way for students as well. So students are finding it difficult. You know, sometimes when they are working on their research, you know, they may have other issues, you know, like their families, or maybe something happened in their community that affects them, you know, mentally or maybe physically as well. So that actually affects on the contribution or the outcome that they can provide. So that's the reason why when the meeting ends, the work or the supervision doesn't end for me.
Okay.
So I'm constantly on my phone. I'm constantly on emails, or sometimes if it's worst case scenario, I do have the virtual meetings as well. So, but it's interesting because previously when I'm having face-to-face meetings with students, I usually have maybe 1 or 2 thinking caps, you know, but when it's moved to this online environment, you can't rely on just 1 or 2 thinking caps. You have to use all types of thinking caps. I think
Yeah.
you're aware of the De Bono 6 thinking caps, right? So I had to utilize all of that for all of my students, especially when it comes to handling different maturity levels and maybe the levels of thinking at where based on the research levels that they are at. So I had to sort of switch between that. Yeah.
Yeah, so from that, some question came to my mind about the we can say mental illness or anxiety or depression because of the pandemic. Because I have heard that some of students they got real severe depression caused by the lockdown. Because people like me, I like to study in the lab with the people, with students. I don't like to be alone in the room. So that caused a problem. And I believe some of you, or maybe all of you, are fathers. So how did you deal with if you have teenagers or undergraduate students? How did you deal with your kids? I think we will start with Mr. Robert.
Well, I think one of the things that I think of first is there was such a level of uncertainty through all of this. And I think we often overlook that in the sense that, you know, we're trying to go through day to day, whether it's we're at work, whether we're at school, whether we're dealing with our children, and we have nothing to base it on. We can't say, well, last year we did this. Well, the last time this happened, we did this. Well, the last time this happened was what, 1908, something like that? Okay, so we don't really have anything to go on, and this was all brand new to us.
Yeah.
So dealing with many of these children, matter of fact, my particular task right now is I've got a team of teachers that we put together to deal with children that have already were probably not your highest performers. But as the pandemic hit, we had either the parents quit or they quit, and they've dropped significantly. And if you look at, you know, our NWA scores, which is a standardized test we use here in the States across the board, ELA, STEM, math without STEM, all of those scores have dropped tremendously.
Yeah.
And I think what frightens me the most about that is we won't know for a couple of years the real effects of this. But, you know, you mentioned, I heard some, you know, we talked about mental health. You know, we are really watching these children because we've got some children that are not behaving normally, and then we forget that the last time these kids were in a classroom was almost 2 years ago. And you know, every time we teach a child, whether it is an elementary school, middle, high school, community college, even adults that have returned to school, we don't know what they go home to. And in an era of a pandemic, we really don't know what they went home to. We don't know, did their parents have their jobs? Were they able to eat? Were they able to stay with their family? Did they have to move in with another family? Did they have all of these disruptions? And then you throw in the mix of a kid with an IEP or a 504, just some mental health challenges, and we have a world of chaos that we're trying to sort out. And now we're going back into it, you know, normal. You know, we're trying to approach the regular classroom settings for the first time. Still, we're wearing masks. We're 6 feet apart. We're trying to explain to these children and young kids that, you know, how to be safe and how to do this. And I think that one of the things that is happening is that there's a level of, I don't want to say complacency, but I think they're almost naive again. They're coming back into a scenario that they're just not prepared for. And I luckily, I will be honest with you, and I'm going to brag a little bit on the network that I work for. I think they've grabbed the bull by the horns and they're making sure that we're making some progress. I am aware of other districts and aware of other schools that I don't think are doing the right things. And then again, in that same sentence, I also have to say, but how do I know this is the right thing? You know, we have nothing to base this on. So I don't want to say we're winging it by any means, but a lot of this is it's in unfamiliar waters. We're testing the water carefully. We're moving forward quickly. And I don't think it's too quick. I'm not really sure what speed we should be going, but I do know that we're just trying to progress as normal as we can to let the children see, okay, look, yeah, we made it. We got through this. Now let's focus on what we're trying to do here. Because to be honest with you, when we started this school year, I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for them to walk in one day and say, nope, we have too many positive tests, send them all home. We'll see in a couple of months. And that's
Yeah, so as you have multiple degrees and you are specialized in education, I believe that, and you've taught for a long time. I believe you have supervised postgraduate student or undergraduate students. So what is your advice to the postgraduate students, like somebody who's struggling from depression?
Well, from the depression end of it, I think, you know, I am not a qualified health professional, but I can tell you this. I really do think that there are some actually wonderful things that will come out of this. And the fact that there are students who are apprehensive to perform in the lab or to reach out, and this era has made it as quick as a Zoom call or a meeting like this, perhaps, or a FaceTime, or even a WhatsApp call, where they may not have had that moment to do so. And I think as long as the educators are very, very well aware that we don't know what they're going home to or what their experiences are, and to be as nurturing as possible, but to also provide that backbone or that support for them in any way that you can. And let's face it, I think it is easier to, if I have 5 students who are all hung up on one thing, guess what? Hey guys, all right, 7 o'clock tonight, let's get on a Zoom call, let's make it happen. I've at least made that contact. And I think we have a responsibility to really embrace what the pandemic has offered. Obviously, it's a horrible thing. We never want to see it again. But right now, we are able to communicate in ways that we've been able to, but we haven't really embraced. So I think we have to make the very best of it. So if you're a student that is trying to figure some things out, be sure you're finding out who you can contact, because it is a much easier it's a much easier thing to do now, and we should take advantage of that. No, I don't want to keep doing this. I love being in this, but wouldn't it be great if we could all sit down at a table and have a cup of coffee and have this discussion? And you know, we're getting to that point slowly but surely. But right now, embrace what's there. And I strongly encourage you to you have the world at your fingertips, and I know that you've always had it. but now you even have a lot more facets that you can approach. You have more people you can approach, you have more industries you can approach, you have more schools you can approach, you have more professors you can approach. Send an email and say, hey, can you give me 5 minutes to Zoom, because at least it's face to face.
Yeah.
My advice, I guess, in a nutshell is take advantage of what you can. And then when you're, the mental health, if you are savvy about that, or if you're with a positive network, you can find all kinds of avenues that are free. And I just saw comments, a blessing in disguise. I really think that's true, but there are options for you. There are people that would have never approached anyone about a mental health issue because there's a stigma with it. Well, guess what? I can have a one-on-one right now with someone, and no one has to know, and I'm going to get the help I need from a qualified professional.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your input. So I would like to hear from the others, from Dr. Fernando. I think in Spain, if all the Spanish people, if they have a very wide smile like you, I think you don't have depression there.
Thank you. No, I agree with my mates. Well, just having one thought, but maybe when talking about mental issues or mental health, I would make well, I'm not an expert as well. Just my feelings. So I notice maybe a big difference between children and let's say university students. I mean, the pandemic did affect them quite different. I think probably I don't know about the others, but in my own experience, I'm thinking about my son and my daughter, and it was lovely to see how good they I mean, they were so good at adapting to everything they had to face. I mean, they were the best ones adapting to everything that life could bring them. And it was the older ones that those who were for sure suffering much more. I mean, we probably were more our consciousness about what's really going on didn't impact, but I'm sure that well, I agree that probably it is because they don't really know. I mean, when you don't know nothing about something, you don't suffer about that, no? So it's like maybe it's you're happy in your own world and there's nothing wrong about it, no? And they had the chance to still get into school and these kind of things, but well, they had to adapt themselves to some new habits, some new ways of doing things. But what really changed a lot was student life at the university, I think, because for instance, when I think about my PhD students, they really suffer a lot. They were really missing this personal contact, this face-to-face. We were so used to, let's say, I don't know how to say this, but these impromptu meetings or not non-unscheduled meetings, like informal meetings, like, oh, do you have a minute? Can we go to the whiteboard? Let's discuss this idea I'm dealing with. I came up with something. You have to hear about that. And that was great. That was absolutely important for us. It was pushing every one of us forward, and this was really important. And this was lost. I mean, we are progressively recovering things. But this was very important. Yeah, I'm going back. I'm going downstairs. See you in a minute. I'll meet you around the coffee machine, and then you just start discussing and start brainstorming and these kind of things. And these were really helpful for them. And they were really missing this a lot. And with regards to this, I also agree with Professor Heikal. I was thinking about these new skills that we did have to develop. This probably staging was never so important, like how to having quite a good rhetorical and good communicative skills. I mean, they were never they were not they were never so important as they are right now. And in my personal experience, well, connecting to this last idea of the whiteboard and discussing and these kind of things. Well, it was essential for me to do some personal investment on these tablets and pencil, this electronic equipment, so as to enable us or to grant us the possibility to at least to hold the line, to keep the possibility of let's discuss something, let's draw something, let's try to elaborate or to work our ideas together on the same whiteboard. This was so important for us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. So to Dr. Julian, did you face the same issues, the anxiety or the depression, and you were, I believe you are in Colombia now. So if yes, how did you deal with them? How did you deal with the students? And if you face as a lecturer or as a supervisor, if you face any difficulties, depression, how did you deal with them?
Yes, Omar, we have to deal with it here in Colombia due to many factors. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, I think most of us believed that this was going to affect mostly the younger ones. I mean, the kids that were not going to the school, that were not going to the kindergarten. But I think when the pandemic was going on, everyone realized that it was not affecting only the younger ones, but also the older ones. I mean, it was affecting all the students, not only the ones going to high school, the one going to middle school. It was affecting everyone. Even in my university, we realized it was affecting the master and the PhD students. Also the faculty staff. So my university set some kind of teams, let's call it that way, of psychiatric health, of psychological help, but it was a challenge for us to detect who was going to need that kind of help, because for me it's very difficult to know that. I mean, if you are in a classroom, I mean, in a virtual classroom, in a Zoom class with 20 students, let's say 15, 30, I don't know, and they are not. I don't know how your students are dealing with it, but my students, they are not participating. They here you don't have to turn your camera on, so you don't see their faces, and they talk if they want to, but it's very difficult for us to identify who is going to need this kind of help. I mean, who is going to need this psychiatric help. But some of the students, I mean, they break this barrier that they think it is between them and us, and some of them told us, look, professor, teacher, Julian, can you please tell me who can I go, or who can I talk to, because I am having really difficulties. What was the issue that I identified here? Colombia is a weak economy. Okay, Colombia has a weak economy, and the pandemic here impact not only the health, but also had a great impact on the families' economies. A lot of our students lost family members due to COVID. In many families, jobs were lost, and it also created a social impact. I mean, a social tension that it's very difficult to tackle, to attack, and it's very difficult even to identify it. For me, that was the most difficult thing to do. Actually, Omar, I tried to help some of my students who came up to me telling me that they were in some troubles, in mental troubles, but I think the vast majority say nothing. I think the vast majority, they, as Robert was saying before, there is an stigma, maybe an stigmatization, if someone says that has mental issues. So I think that's something that we have to take care. That's something that we have to focus
Yeah.
on.
Mhm.
I think it's not quite solved yet here in Colombia, and I think it's not solved everywhere.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
just add
Yeah. Sorry.
something to that? I do
Sure.
agree with what Dr. Julian has mentioned. It is difficult to identify students who are, facing some mental issues, or maybe they're having some personal issues as well. Especially when when you consider the meeting times that you have, especially with your postgraduate students, it's usually an hour or maybe 2 hours, and that period of time is not usually enough for you to sort of read between the lines that this student actually needs help. It's difficult for us as supervisors to do that, because at that point of time or that period of that particular meeting, we are just focused on the students' research and their progress. That's the main aim, because we're trying to guide them to to get to that finishing line. And
Yeah.
when you have to sort of juggle a lot of things on the plate besides that, while trying to identify whether is this student okay, really okay, that sort of plays into a different aspect that's needed from supervisors. So I think coming back to that, personally, when I do meet my students, the best thing that you can do as any individuals, not just as supervisors, but also as students as well, is to check yourself. Do an emotional assessment.
How to do that?
Okay, so what I would definitely do in the mornings when I wake up, before I go through my list of tasks for the day, I would just go through and just internally, think about, okay, how am I feeling? Am I doing okay? Okay, if I do respond to okay, is it really okay, or is this just trying to make myself feel happy for that particular period of time? So try to internalize and see where you are at that particular point, so you can actually set on how to sort of mitigate. You won't be able to solve all of the issues that you're facing, whether you're a postgraduate student or maybe you're a supervisor. Is once you identify how you're feeling at that point of time, then you can sort of put in the activities or maybe certain steps in order to at least achieve a certain aspect or level of thinking that would help you to get through the day, for example. Okay,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So actually, I would like to add. I would like to add something. There is a public speaker in United States. His name is Brian Tracy. So he always motivating people by saying to them, the world is your mirror. If you woke up, you have to smile, so people will smile back to you. Yeah. So when I woke up, sometimes on the mirror, on the morning, I will try to smile, but I couldn't find the smiling. Even sometimes my teeth is not there. Yeah. So actually, it is sometimes difficult for many people, but you have to work through it. You have to overcoming overcome the issue of depression in exercising. For example, I believe exercising, it will reduce the depression. And one more thing, if you are a coffee man, a coffee make people depressed. I don't know if you agree with it or not. Yeah, so this is just my thought. So there is questions from the audience. I would like to put it in this way. In 80s, in old days, in 80s, 90s, all the cars, they were manual, you know that. So when the car, it will break down, the driver is supposed either to push the car or he will wait somebody to push for him. This is in the some countries. I don't know if it exists in Malaysia or United States. So the question was, do you need to wait for somebody to push you, or you just walk by yourself?
Maybe I can just start the conversation on this. To be honest, this is an advice that I always give to any of a new student that I have. Okay, my advice is that you have to know that doing a PhD is not easy, even in a normal circumstances. I mean, without the pandemic, it's already hard enough. But when you include the burden of, no physical, if you meet somebody, you have to be like at least 6 feet away or more, in order to communicate with them, it adds up. It adds up. So I wouldn't say push. It's a bit difficult or a bit more challenging for students today in order to do their research. But I think at the same time, you have to look at the silver lining in any situation, the positive side of it. The positive side of having this pandemic occurring now is that we are able to communicate, I think, as mentioned by the other panelists, with other researchers from other countries easily. It's much more easy because everybody is in the same boat. Everybody is in the same situation. We need to connect in order to move our research. So find the communication channel and I think use that in order to drive, I'm doing this research because I want to reach at the end of it. I want to have that scroll in my hand saying that I earned this doctorate or I earned this degree, so use that as a motivation, but at the same time, try to balance out on your mental state at that particular moment. Like I mentioned, do that mental assessment daily, on a daily basis, just to make sure, okay, where you are at. And if you know for certain that you're facing some issues that you may not be able to compensate or maybe cope as an individual, seek help. You have your friends, or sometimes I have some students who are approaching me as their supervisors as well. But if you need better help, seek the proper channels, like, for example, professional certified mental or psychologist. Maybe that can probably help you even better. Yeah.
So the strategy is to do both of us, to do both of them, to start pushing, then you will wait somebody to push you. Don't rely on one of them. Yeah, so
I would say that also for advisors, I feel like we do have some responsibility about their mental health. I mean, Professor Heikal explained it very well. Like he mentioned that we were most of the times we were too much concerned on research progress and on results, and that's it. That I'm not concerned. I don't want to know anything about any other. No, that's not how it works. I mean, it as my colleagues has already mentioned, it is not easy to notice when something's going wrong with a person. And it turns out to be even much more complicated when you are on the screen. So you need to approach him or her, you need to get there, and I'm sure that there are many difficulties, but fortunately, we can still do a bunch of things outside, like, okay, let's drive to the uni and let's share a coffee in the garden, or let's take a walk around or whatever. I mean, this
social distancing.
I could never figure out how important this was until the moment that I make the decision to do it, because I was not aware in my own experience there was something wrong. There was something going wrong with one of my students, and I couldn't notice it when talking to each other on screen. And it was just incidental or accidental. It was just eventually I get to the uni and I met him, and then you notice that there was something wrong. But I only noticed it when I was there and I was in front of him, and I noticed that the way he was looking at me, he was not looking at me. When you are on the screen, maybe you don't even notice this kind of behavior, because where are we gazing at right now? Doesn't matter. You can see the other one, and it is not that important whether he's gazing at you or not. But when you are face to face, you really notice these kind of things. Hey, guy, hey, what's up with you? Is there anything wrong? Are you concerned about something? Oh, I don't know, maybe, yeah, well. And it was just a matter of contact, human contact, like just sharing a coffee 5 minutes outside, to notice that he was really like feeling awful because of not having been in touch with anyone for ages. Like it was like a big deceleration. Like we were meeting daily, twice a day, 3 times a day, more, even more. Whenever we wanted, we have it. And suddenly everything disappeared, and this completely changed our lives. And we don't even notice it because we are too much concerned about some other stuff, progress. I'm still in the need of doing things, of keep pushing forward because I have a deadline. I need to take care of the kids. I need to do the grocery or whatever. So it's really important that as advisors, to also make our best, to try to, as Professor Heikal mentioned, to mitigate and to alleviate and to help students to come up with, to tackle any possible problem. But it's, in my personal experience, it is pretty important to get as close as possible. Of course, I know it's sometimes it's not that easy. Gladly, I mean, I'm so glad that things are changing quite a lot in this regard, but this is so important. We are humans, so we need to get in touch with each other. This is how we work. This is how it goes. I mean, this is my feeling.
Yeah, actually, even in the normal times, before the pandemic, there are students who they are doing part-time PhD or masters. So by doing part-time, of course, some of them, they have work to do. Yeah, so I think this question to Mr. Robert, as he is defending his PhD thesis, and as well as I think he is a teacher at the same time. So how did you handle that?
Well, a great deal of my work through Northcentral was one-on-one. I had a professor for each course that I took for the coursework, predominantly online. Then, of course, it went all online once the pandemic, was in full swing. And I, to be honest with you, I enjoyed that because I could still continue my education. I'm about 2.5 weeks away from defending Interestingly enough, my dissertation is about addiction, smartphone addiction in particular, to first year and second year university students. And I conducted most all of that. Well, matter of fact, ASU required that everything was done online. No face-to-face meetings whatsoever. That was part of the IRB approval, or they wouldn't approve it. But what I found was that most students assumed this is the new norm, Mr. Lyon. I mean, go down to the T-Mobile store and try not to get a smartphone. And I guess I'm making a few notes, but if this is our new norm, if this is normal now, do we go back? Is there a return from this? There isn't. And here's a couple of things I want you to think about. All of you introverts out there probably love the pandemic. Oh, this is great. I don't have to go outside. I don't have to face anybody. I can go to class. I can do everything from right here. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And guess what? There is a small percentage of people that will perform better under this type of environment. And I hope that works out for them. I also want to point out that here in the United States, especially, and I wish I had invested in some of these companies, but now they're going to go all online with high school, all on universities that, you'll have, for instance, ASU right now, you can go and attend in person or you can attend virtually. And guess what they found out? They're making a lot more money. And when you when you throw money into that, it's not going to change. Now, having said that, and I think there was a comment about, just being able to get on the Coke machine, but those conversations, we miss that human interaction, because I think we get spurred on by that. From my own personal experience, I love the fact that I had a schedule I could keep for my school. I did this, and then I could build my real life, around what I was doing academically instead of the other way around. So for me, it worked out tremendously. But in my research, I had a lot of students that I was talking with, and it was clear that they were not well. They were not comfortable. That uncertainty lingered. And, of course, there were other conversations, very personal conversations that we had outside of anything academic and outside of any of my research. And hopefully we made some headway. But I think that, once again, and I don't want to keep pounding this down, but I think this format is going to be a tremendous benefit. And it can come back and bite you. And I think if you embrace it, you can make it win for you. But like I said earlier too, I don't know what to return to. Everybody says, well, it's going to be like this for a while, but we're not going to change from this. And I think we have to accept that. I would love to see us just go right back into whatever we had before. But we're not. Let's just face it. We have there's a I have forgotten now the name of the movie. I'm not a big movie buff, but there is a movie with Keanu Reeves where he plays Klaatu. Forgive me, I don't know. But in a speech with that movie, there's a gentleman that says, we're on the precipice of change. That's when we really change. I'm like, yes, that's where we are. We are on the precipice of change. Now, here's the big question. Do we change for the better or do we change for the worse? And I don't think it's Matrix. That was a Day the Earth Stood Still or something like that. But anyway, we're on the precipice of change. I think I'm not just saying we just have to roll over and accept everything, but I do think we have to realize that our new norm is going to be something we can't even define yet. We're not there. We're going to go through it, and we still have a lot more to experience. In regards to our emotional health and our psychological health, of course, our academic skills, our academic pursuits, they're going to change as well. But I'm very, very curious to see what that new norm evolves into. I think it can evolve into something wonderful if we're smarter. Here in the United States, I will not lie to you. I don't think we've handled it well. I think we've failed miserably.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, so back to Dr. Julian. So I believe that in Latin America, I believe that the Mexicans, they like to have a lot of kids. And this is also in Middle East, also people, they like to have a lot of kids. And with multiple kids, for 6 kids in your home, I think it will be somehow difficult for you to conduct your research or to even to mark papers. So did you experience anything like that?
Well, Omar, but I didn't get the question pretty well. You mean?
Yeah, I mean with large families, it is difficult to conduct the research.
Well,
Is it so?
I don't have a large family, so for me it's very difficult to think of that. But actually, for me, it has been. I'm not going to say that it was easy, but I was going to. But I'm going to be honest. It was not difficult to come back to the to research. I mean, there was a time the last year in which we have to try to adapt, in which we have to find a way to do the research, and once we found the way to do it, we could come back. I mean, we have some papers, some projects delayed for a few months, and I think it was obvious. Everything changed in the last year, so we have to take our time to face it, to adapt, and once we could conduct this adaptation process, I think we managed to come back to the way in which the research projects were we were making progress with them. If you know what I mean. Maybe I can tell you from the point of view of some of my friends that for them it has been very difficult to do that in their families, and also I can tell you from the point of view of most of my students, they are in big families, and for example, most of my students they have to share their study place in their home, maybe with their sisters, maybe with their cousins, and it has not been easy for them to do that because a house is not a space to get a class. I mean, it's not a space that you can convert into a classrooms, because a lot of activities continue happening in that place. I mean, the housekeeper, I mean, the mother, the father, they have to keep doing their jobs, and it's not easy for my students, as far as I know, as far as they have told me, it's not been easy for them to be in contact, to be in attention, to be paying full attention to a class while the activity in their homes was taking place. So Omar, yeah, that's what I think. But
Yeah.
well, actually, for me, as I told you, as I don't have a big family, a large family, well, for me it was quite easy to reconduct it.
Yeah. I hope you will have in the future.
Maybe, yep.
Yeah. So there's another question for you. They say,
Yep.
how did you push your students to use online medium for learning and lecturing? Most of the students keep complaining that they didn't get the clear idea of concepts as compared to physical classes.
No choice.
Forgive me, too many questions for you, Dr. Julian, but people like you, I don't know. So they ask you many questions.
Okay, let me tell you, I think that it's difficult for them because something that some of my colleagues were saying before, and it was the interaction. I mean, if there is something that I really miss about being at the university, it is precisely the interaction with the students. That feedback that you get from them when you are in front of a classroom teaching a class, I mean, being able to see their faces, to know if they are understanding or not what you are telling them. I miss that nonverbal language that I think is so necessary to achieve learning objectives. And maybe because of that reason that we have no this interaction, that we have in this interaction, I think maybe it can tackle the achievement of these learning objectives. And honestly, I still haven't found a way to adapt to it. I mean, I haven't found something that replaces the interaction that you have with the students in a classroom. Because no matter if you have this kind of tablets, it doesn't matter if you have any of these fancy devices. I think the interaction, being able to face with your students, to share this kind of knowledge and to share your experience, it is not replaceable. I think it is not replaceable. I think actually, even for them, working this way is not the same. I mean, they don't have that interaction with their peers. The importance of teamwork has been undermined on many occasions, and that was something that I wanted to add before, is that I have noticed that in order to identify who is having a bad time, maybe to encourage the teamwork within your students, it's a very good idea, because they are more, how do you say that? They are more suitable. They feel that sharing their feelings with their classmates is easier than sharing their feelings with you as their teacher. So I try to create these Zoom rooms every time I can, so I make them work in teams. And I think maybe once they have worked in these teams, you can ask them how was the work, who worked the most, who participated the most, and maybe that's a very good way to find or to realize who may be having a difficult time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar.
So back to you, Dr. Heikal. Being someone with a lot of students, I am sure you often receive grants and research funding. How did the pandemic crisis affect research funding, and how did you dealt with it?
Okay. I think it comes back to an earlier statement saying that, you know, being a researcher, everything changed. Definitely, research grants is also affected as well. I think a lot of countries nowadays, they're having research that's geared towards, you know, COVID and also the pandemic, further research into the pandemic itself. I think for me personally, it's more to trying to apply, you know, whatever the research grant that's coming in, whether it's on COVID or it's on a specific domain, you know, whether it's a socio-economical sort of perspective. I just try to apply as much as I can. I don't really look at the amount nowadays. I think before pre-pandemic, a lot of researchers will be looking at how much am I getting for this application, you know. But I think during this time, we can't really be picky. I try to grab as much grants as I can, even if the outcome of that particular grant is not looking too well or it's difficult in the sense. I just try for it. You know, I think it's important to try and just see what's the outcome of it. If you get it, if I do get the grant, it works well, I can continue doing my research, and also maybe sometimes I can afford to actually pay my students as well as research assistants. Yeah, that's my stance.
Thank you very much. So, any other questions from the audience? So there is a question from Muhammad Tayyib. So he's saying pandemic has really affected the access to the people, resources, and platforms. With their vast experience, what would the panelists suggest to overcome the access issue in order to maintain timeline of research activities?
Do you mean the access to resources and
Yeah,
what?
he's saying access to the resources and platforms. I believe labs, could be data
Okay.
collections, even maybe markets, because he's saying access to people. I don't know if it is markets or their essentials maybe, but if it's obviously about maybe labs. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's saying labs.
Well, I don't know, but maybe I can try to come up with an answer. Well,
Yeah.
regarding resources, I think that I agree with Professor Robert that this is one of the positive parts of it. I mean, I think that the resources are even more available than they were because of this better accessibility. I mean, online accessibility. I mean, I like to be positive in this regard. Regarding the labs, it changes a lot. I mean, well, we have been forced to get used to this new normal, which has to do with I don't know, maybe this well, facilities, labs. They need to be modernized. Like they need to. But for sure, it depends a lot upon the university which we are talking about, because accessibility to laboratories has a lot to do with the investment the university have made so as to grant or to make this access possible. There are different measures that can be adopted for this to happen. I can think of in my own experience, for instance, they have enabled these QR codes to enable an effective and immediate identification of anybody that could be involved in a possible outbreak. Ventilation mechanisms have been evolved and updated so as to ensure the air quality is as good as necessary. They have also installed these air quality measure devices so as to grant people inside to check how safe it is to be in there. I don't know, maybe some other devices and equipments, and of course these sanitary and hygienic devices for you to these hydroalcoholic things and this kind of stuff. This make things a bit easier. And in Spain, we are kind of coming back to normal in this regard, thanks to this whole bunch of different measures that are somehow alleviating the problem and making it possible.
Mm-hmm. Any other input?
Yeah, I think I'll just add to that. I think in terms of accessing and achieving your research activities, right? You want to, at the end of the day, the student has a deadline. You know, whatever the deadline is, they have to achieve it. So I guess in this type of pandemic, as what has been mentioned by Dr. Ferdinand as well, or Professor Ferdinand, it's using all the channels that you have. Because of the pandemic, there's a lot of new websites or platforms that exist. You know, a good one that sort of comes to mind is Connected Papers. It's a website that sort of shows interrelated papers that is based on a topic. You just go, it's like a Google search for papers, research papers. You know, you just type in any topics that you're interested in. It sort of pops up and shows you this sort of like a web diagram that so shows, okay, how does this paper connect to each other as well. So that's one example of how you can sort of use the current channels or maybe technologies that exist. There's a lot more, and I think comes back into relate to why I join or enjoy watching TikTok. Yes, I do agree with Roberts that it is dangerous. But it also depends on the videos that you're watching, you know, because the algorithm that is developed for TikTok is really, really impressive. I think it takes around 1 or 2 videos. They can actually recommend videos that sort of gets you hooked onto using the app.
Yeah.
So it so happens a lot of the tips or tools that I found that is useful for my research students are actually coming from TikTok. So that's one of the sides of TikTok that I would have to share about.
Maybe in the future you will become TikToker, as they say, the new terminology. You will post your new paper, for example. My paper is published, and don't worry, COVID is okay. I publish in Q1.
Not yet, not to that point yet. I'm still learning.
Yeah. So there is another question. I didn't get it, but I will try to get it. In the employment context, many employers are looking out for candidates with a high technical skill sets obtained on campus and other physical academics activities. As academicians, how will you view an employer's perception in the new normal? I would like to direct this to Mr. Robert.
Lucky me. I read that question and I know exactly where it's going with that. Yeah, you know, when you go and apply for a job and you've been, whatever it is, you've finished your technical degree, you have your master's, you're a postdoc, whatever it might be, they're looking for, hey, we want you here because we know you've actually completed the work with your hands. Well, here we are, we can't even get into the labs, can't even get into the universities. And granted, that's a very slow process. You know, field work is null. My gut says, gee, just be patient. Well, then, you know, of course, we, like Omar brought up, we have deadlines. We can't be patient right now. So how do we get around that? Now, how are we going to go get a job knowing what we know about what they want? You know, these employers have a very, you know, specific set of skills that they're looking for. And most of us aren't able to get them right now. Now, if you're a qualitative researcher, this is just heaven for you. You can just sit back and do it. Quantitative, it's kind of, you know, came down to a grinding halt. And if we are actually looking for those technical postdocs to actually step into a lab and start, you know, working with a genomics professor or genomics team, you don't have that skill set anymore. Unfortunately, I don't see a real a stronger answer than the one that I can give you, and is that it's likely not going to happen on your time frame right now. Now, having said that, I know that companies like TGen out of Phoenix, the University of Southern California right now, even UCLA, they have created programs where they're going to start integrating almost a face-to-face lab, where, you know, candidates that are going to attempt to work at these companies will have, you know, a basic lab set where they can go to a safe area where they're not bringing in 10 people to work in the lab. They're trying to space that out. Now, does it cost money? Sure it does. All right, they know what they're doing. So the other end of that is that, yeah, if you're going to get involved in a program like that, you're either going to wait it out, which obviously some of us cannot do or will not do, or you're going to participate in a program where they're going to kind of corral you and almost force you to do the program as the way they see fit. And I know it's killing a lot of scientists that I know that have been essentially kicked out of the lab. And it's just killing their psychological, their well-being, because that's their life. That's what they do. So those of you who are, right in that, like we just talked about the employment context, there's no silver lining to this right now. There just isn't. I mean, I'm sure there are other programs that are coming down. Employers are going to start looking and realizing very quickly that, yeah, we can take advantage of this, but we still need that technical aspect. And that will remain to be seen across different countries. I'm not exactly sure how that will happen. And I'm only seeing, just kind of the bare bones of what's being attempted here. And I don't know the success rate. I really wish I had a better answer, but that's really, that's what I've witnessed. That's what I'm seeing. And even the dual enrollment kids going on to universities here in California, they're into San Jose State. San Jose State is really, really trying to get science back into the mainstream. They're struggling because they can't put the kids in the labs right now. Even though they've opened up, they still can't. The universities, you got to remember, universities here in the United States are federally funded. The federal government has a lot to say with what happens. So they've all kind of got their brakes on right now. So I'm sorry, guys. I really wish I had this. Oh, and here's this great answer.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Dr. Fernando, what is your view on that?
More or less the same. I mean, I'm not in this regard. I like to be optimistic, but maybe I have to be realistic. But I do expect the best of it. Hopefully, well, things are getting better. I like to post this optimistic message.
Optimistic, yeah.
Yeah. I always expect the best.
Yeah. One day it will end, sooner or later.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll overcome this.
Yeah,
Definitely, one way or another. So don't we get desperate and just be patient. And well, we are doing pretty good. I mean, we are getting through this. So I do have very good expectations on this, and I do share the view of Robert. I think that we can make the best of this. I think that we have to definitely take the best of all these and keep it and preserve it and improve it, and of course, try to get at least part of those good old things back again. Hopefully.
Yeah. So any input from the other panelists? Maybe have anything to add regarding this question?
Actually, I think what I'm thinking right now, it's in line of what Robert and Fernando have already said. I mean, there is no a clear future right now, but there will be. I mean, for an employer that is looking for a trained professional right now, that employer has to look for older people maybe that has been trained before, but not right now, because right now we are not able to do that. And if they are having trouble in the US, for example, taking into account that they have large resources, you can think what is going to happen in the rest of the world. I mean, it is not going to be easy. I think it is not going to be easy in the near future, but I also would like to share this optimistic point of view, the same that Fernando has, that we are going to overcome this hopefully very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for your input. And Dr. Heikal, I don't know if you have anything to add regarding this point.
I think it comes back to the same thoughts that shared by the other panelists, you know.
Okay.
But I guess at the end of the day, it's important as any postgraduate students who are graduating or any students who are going to apply for a position, anybody who's graduating at the same time when this pandemic occurs is in the same boat. They haven't had access to any labs. They haven't had access to any facilities or you know, things that can sort of be advantageous for them. So I guess at the end of the day, it matters on how well you do during the application of a particular prospective job, or maybe how well you do during an interview. I don't think a lot of the companies are gonna question you saying like, you graduated, you're supposed to have these skills in a particular lab, but you didn't have it. But I think they would realize that if you are studying during this pandemic, it does affect everyone. So for me, I guess looking at the positive side, everybody is in the same boat. So just be aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe there is one more question. So
If I can just add something real quick.
yeah, sure.
Well, I challenge everybody to take advantage of the time. If you can't get into the lab, and I realize that money doesn't grow on trees, funding isn't available, but there are a lot of certificate programs that you can get involved in that would look great on your resume. Maybe it's even internet security, you know, public security options, things that you can do online. Like I said, the new norm is going to be a very different norm, and it is going to be a very virtual world. And I realize we have two personalities. We have the personality that exists over here, and then we have that other one that exists, and then we have the one that's in person, who we forgot all about. But take advantage of there's a lot of stuff that you can do, a lot of stuff you can be working towards to keep yourself sharp. And you know what? If at the end of the day, even if that doesn't really look wonderful on your resume, it will do something for your psyche because you're being productive, you're being busy, and you're being held accountable. So.
Yeah, that's actually bring another question. Mr. Robert, you think that having an online courses or certificates from online courses, it is worth it to have in your resume?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't mean go find, you know, you don't want to look at a resume, and we've all hired people in this panel. We've hired people, and you don't want to see the resume with, okay, I did this, and then I went through 15 little things that I did that really, okay, maybe that's nice. But I think real, you know, I guess the gist of it is that when we're in a situation that we are in now, there are opportunities for us to take advantage of being busy, of being productive. And yeah, you know, one or two of those certificates or whatever it might be, because you just don't know that resume eventually when you can finally get in there and you see it. Hey, you know what? We've got a team that also does this exact same thing that you're in. So that might be a plus for you. I don't think we need to fluff it up because to be honest, when an employer looks at a fluffed up resume, it just gets annoying and goes to the back of the pile. That's how I feel about that. But I think there are a lot of things that you can take advantage of that are within your field, and maybe they're not exactly perfectly aligned with what you're working on or what you intend to work on. But you know, one of the things that we've talked several times tonight, or well, it's my night anyway, is about mental health. And you know what? You get up in the morning, you have a schedule, you have something there that keeps you busy. You have other people that you're interacting with. You have other professors you're interacting with. You have work, you have tasks, you have things that you have to get completed. And I don't think that, you know, that you can really stress that enough, because our well-being coming out of this needs to be strong. And I think if you've kept your mind active, take advantage of it. Be sure you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, actually, Sorry, just to add one more thing. I am about to finish my PhD. I have defended my thesis, and I am applying for a job now. Most of the offers that I have come across, they requires industrial experience. Do you think that's important more than academic experience? And why everybody asking about industrial experience? Because we are in academia, people supposed to look at the publication and what courses that you've taken, what you can give to the what you can contribute to the research labs. Why always people asking about industrial experience? I don't have one. This is a problem.
And did you say industrial?
Yeah.
I don't know. Granted, there's got to be an exact reason that they're suggesting that or looking for it. My guess is that they are assuming that we've been able to, stay active depending on where we are. That's one of those things where you need the experience, but then you have to have the job to get the experience. So how do you get the experience if you can't get the job because you haven't done experience, right? It kind of goes around and around like that. And I don't know, to be honest with you, I think that is a method that a lot of employers are using right now to get a better feel for the market. It may be not about you. It's probably, okay, let's see what's actually arriving. When we put this down, what are we witnessing? What are we seeing? And I think what happens a lot of times is that, postdocs especially have usually, they tend to do that a little bit later, or they've been working all along trying to support themselves doing that. Very few of us get to go through our master's program, right to PhD and right to postdoc, and then we just live the rest of our lives. It doesn't work that way, not all the time. So I think that they realize that as the pandemic starts to end, and I don't know when that will be, none of us do. I mean, when we really see the end, not just opening up, I think they will start to realize that it's going to be very, very competitive. What we're witnessing now in the Silicon Valley is that there are companies just gobbling up other companies, and people are switching jobs left and right. And of course, they do have that industrial experience. So I don't know if that's a tie-in to that, to get a better gauge for the market or what the market's going to present. And I'm sure that somebody has figured out, they've got an algorithm somewhere that has figured out, hey, if we have X amount of candidates and they have this experience and X amount of candidates have that experience, now we know what to need to look for. I don't know that I would stress it too much going into it, but obviously if they're looking for it, there's a method to the madness.
What do you look at in the resume personally? If you hire somebody for a research lab or what they say postdoctorate, if you have any, or this is a question also for Dr. Fernando, Dr. Julian, Dr. Heikal. What do you expect in the resume?
Leading research, demonstrable experience. I mean, your publications, the projects you've been involved to. Of course, technology transfer also matters, but as Professor Rutherford mentioned, well, it's not that easy. Sometimes you cannot be working at the company and doing a PhD at the same time. This is supposed to take the whole of your day. You are completely devoted to this. I mean, if you are doing a regular PhD, I don't know how this could be in Malaysia, but at least in Europe, this is a full day work. Like you completely devote yourself to your PhD thesis. And when we're looking at, well, actually, I must confess that I did not find the connection between this issue and the pandemic. Did you come up with some insight on this regard? Because have things changed somehow because of the pandemic? Because this concerns me a lot, because it's like a little bit I wasn't aware of these, but well, maybe in your case, I don't know exactly about what was really going on with in your case, but sometimes I do find that perhaps they are not really looking for a postdoc. They do need some other kind of experience, some other kind of worker or professional, but they feel free to ask for a postdoc because, well, the best the better, no? I mean, if you are asking for such industrial or professional experience, then for me it is not that clear what they are asking for.
I will send you my resume so that you will hire me for a post.
Please do it.
Omar, just out of curiosity, right? Were you applying to a sort of like a research group, or is it just mainly like a purely industrial organization?
Actually, I experienced that mostly in Germany, in Middle East, and some of the universities in America and United States. They ask about industrial experience. In Malaysia, that is 100%. We don't talk about it. Everybody wants industrial experience.
I think it is, maybe I can try and have an idea, because I do work with some of the industry partners here in Penang. And one of the things that I have noticed during some of our initial discussions is that, you know, the industry experience is important for a lot of manufacturing companies, you know, because this is where, you know, with the whole fourth industrial revolution, where everything is going to be automated soon enough. So I think a lot of companies are actually gearing up to ensure that all of the people that are working in that particular group or particular company is actually well equipped with the knowledge for that. I think that's where it's coming from.
So thank you very much all. Actually, the time flies. Before I end the session, I understand that all of you are affiliates of Dr. Shahira, and I would like to call her on to give a few words before we end this session. Dr. Shahira, please.
Hi guys, thank you very much for being here, and I feel very honored to have all of you here from all different continents. So we have like 4 continents. I did get a lot of interesting things here. 6 de bono thinking cap. As an academic, I find myself to be more of a counselor now than an academic in this new norm. Okay, so one of the questions that I have that I did not really ask you, but I would like to bring it up now, although we are going to finish, is that how long will you all as an academic, just one last question, yeah, Omar, before I finish, how long what is your tolerance span, or how long would you actually allow the excuses to come in when your students say, this is I have to take care of my children, I have internet problem, or I have whatever, for example, I will just post this to one person, for example, Huli, because we do not have time. Would you take that, Huli?
Yeah, sure.
How long will you be able to accept this?
Sham, I mean, I think the circumstances in different countries may be different, and I think based on that, I think that I have to accept those delays and I will have to accept them for a very long time. I mean, from my perspective, there are a lot of situations. For instance, many of our students lost family members, as I told you before. In many families, jobs were lost, and there were and still are many economic difficulties in a large part of the population. So I believe that many students did not came up with good excuses to justify their delays in the publication of their results. They were there were real circumstances that they went through, and I believe that we must prioritize the mental health of the students before the success of a research group. So, in saying that, I think that maybe I'm a bit of, how do you say that in English? Of I tend to allow them as many times as they need in order to get the results.
I agree with you actually. I was just wondering, if you all have any tolerance span or anything like that. But I'm sure all of us, resonate with Julian. And thank you very much. I also see this. It's not just a pandemic of this physical problem. It's becoming more of a pandemic of mental issues. Especially I don't know. I'm sure you all. I do not know about in your places, but in Malaysia, this has been increasing, and cases of suicide also have been increasing.
Here also,
And,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also think that this is a blessing in disguise. Also, I resonate with Mr. Lyon that you get appointment very fast. You get to see people very fast online. You do not need to wait for 1 or 2 weeks before you actually have to walk in and see them. So that's also blessing in disguise. So I guess there's a balance of both. And whether or not we are going to return to normal, I do not know what's normal anymore.
Yep. That's the
So
thing.
whatever that is going to be at that time normal, we are going to take that as a normal, or we're going to change our not normal situation to normal. With that, I would like to end this situation. Thank you very much, Omar, for very good moderation, and thank you, Heikal, Fernando, AP Fernando, Technologist, TS, Dr. Heikal, AP,
Thank you.
Julian, and also Mr. Lyon. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for
Thanks.
having me.
Yeah, thank you for having
Thanks.
me.
Yeah, before we end, let's go for our photo session. And we,
Yeah, we're going to have a photo session. This is also the
Yes.
new normal.
yeah,
Patatas.
the new way of taking photo. Dr. Gan, can you
And everybody put on your yeah.
normal speech? Yes. All right, give some moments, maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, give me a short while to remove the panels from stage first.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, what 1 minute, because we're going to move.
Let us get ready. Open your camera. And oops, rotation. Not yet, Dr. Gan. I can see Dr. Shaira with one big screen over here. Okay.
All right.
All right. So
Fair, smile.
let's smile, everyone.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
a moment. Yeah.
Okay, Azika.
Here. All right. Are we ready?
I thought we already took my
But-
pictures. Okay.
Not yet. Give me a moment. Seems like not everyone is actually on the photo. So give me.
Yeah.
All right. So please, can others also please just take a snapshot because I can't keep everyone here.
Yes, I
So
will.
just get ready
On
in a
your
count of
video.
1, 2, 3.
Patatas.
Yes. Please smile. All right. So others also please just take a screenshot as a backup in case I cannot capture everyone. So please keep smiling. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So
Azika,
yes.
please, can you just hold on for me for 30 seconds? I quickly want to put my clothes on, please.
Yes, yes, go ahead, go ahead. I'm still taking photos, so please open your video and I will try to capture everyone.
Cepat.
Please,
Good.
please go ahead and
Not
open
so
your
new
video.
normal. Hopefully all of you are dressed up and down.
And open your camera. Alright. I think my internet are not that good, so please I need backup. Anyone?
Yeah, backing up print screen.
yes.
1, 2,
Yeah, I think
3.
I'm good to go
Thank you,
with this
Ratan.
one.
So please go ahead. I captured also, so in case if we miss out anyone.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So-
Thank you for this. Okay.
Alright.
Thank you
Okay.
guys.
Alright,
Been
thank
a
you very
really,
much.
really nice talk. Very, very
I
interesting.
think Ashik,
Take
you
care.
capture me.
Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Un beso a
Thank you,
todos.
all the
Juli,
panel.
beso para Bea, Juli.
Vale.
Besitos para todos. Juli, hasta luego. Nos
Hasta
vemos.
luego.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Gracias.
Thank
Assalamualaikum.
you all.
Yusuf.